Good evening, everybody, and welcome to everyone here with me in Reading Marketplace, and to all of you watching online at home. Thank you all for joining us this evening to honour and pay our respects to the victims of the appalling incident in the Forbury Gardens last Saturday. This evening gives us the opportunity to bring people together and to reflect on a week which has left Reading feeling a mixture of horror, disbelief and immense sadness. Just 1 week ago, friends and families were sitting in Forbury Gardens, just a few yards from here, making the most of the warm weather on a summer's evening and enjoying one another's company. As around now, the happiness and tranquility of the evening was shattered in the cruelest and most horrific way. 3 men lost their lives and several people sustained injuries. Others were forced to witness the most horrendous scenes. Last Saturday, Reading lost James Furlong, Joe Ritchie Bennett and David Wales. To their families and close friends, we can only imagine your grief. After the initial shock, there's been an outpouring of sadness in Reading, across the whole country and indeed the rest of the world. For those of us that know Reading, we're not surprised to see all sections of our community pulling together and supporting each other in a way that has demonstrated the remarkably united spirit we all know exists in this town. Reading will always be an inclusive and diverse town. We stand together as a community and shall not be divided. This evening, on behalf of the people of Reading, I'd like to extend our deepest sympathy and condolences to the families, some of who are with us here this evening, and to everybody else affected by the dreadful attack. In just a moment, we'll be inviting individuals to step forward and light a candle as we pay our respects to those who so needlessly died and think of everybody affected by this tragedy. Unfortunately, due to the ongoing COVID-19 distance restrictions, we're inviting households across Reading, the country and beyond, to join us in this act of solidarity at home. I understand that further memorial events will be taking place in the coming weeks, which will also allow us to come together. I now invite the Lord Lieutenant of Berkshire, Mr. James Puxley, to say a few words before we begin the lighting of candles. Thank you.
In my 5.5 years as Lord Lieutenant, I've never been to an occasion that I did not want to be at. Of course, I am glad to be here tonight, but in one sense, I don't want to be. I would have far rather that last Saturday night in Reading had been a normal one. I wish so much that circumstances that have led me to be here had not occurred. Of course, we all wish this. We cannot alter what has happened. So tonight, as a representative here in Berkshire of Her Majesty the Queen, I pay tribute, firstly, to James, Joe and David. Sadly, I never met them, but I know that a lot of you here knew at least one, if not all of them, well. From what I hear, they were honest, lovely, outstanding people and good law-abiding citizens. They did not deserve what happened to them. They had so many years ahead of them. Who knows what they would have achieved in life had they lived to an old age? Doubtless they would have achieved many good things that the community is now deprived of benefiting from. So many of you will be asking, why them? Those of you that were in Forbury Gardens on Saturday will be thinking, it could have been me. Life is a lottery. We never know what is round the corner, and this is scary, but we have to live knowing this. This is no comfort to the friends and family of colleagues and colleagues of those left behind. So many more people than just the victims are affected in some way by this tragedy. I send my heartfelt condolences and sincere sympathy to the loved ones left behind. Next, I pay tribute to those injured in the attack and those who are traumatized by witnessing the ghastly attack. They will never recover completely from something like this, but I wish them as speedy and a full recovery as possible. Next, I pay tribute to those who helped the victims. Some people I know tore off their shirts to make bandages. I pay tribute to the inherent goodness in humans that enabled these people to act instinctively with the only motive to come to the aid of a fellow human being who was suffering. Finally, I pay tribute to the emergency services and to the police, who arrived on the scene within minutes. The actions of the police in preventing further deaths and ghastly injury deserves the highest praise. This incident was a crime against humanity, and I pray that none of us will ever see anything like this again. And I pray that nothing like this will ever occur again in Reading.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Campbell, and I'm the Chief Constable of Thames Valley Police. I'm joined in person and online by many members of my force and beyond, from those involved in the response to those involved in the investigation. On behalf of the force and the wider police family, I send our sincere condolences to the family and friends of David, James and Joe. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. How we wish we weren't here, reflecting upon the tragic events of last week and remembering those who lost their lives and also those that were injured in body and in mind. As police officers, we pledge our lives to protect people and prevent them from coming to harm. When such harm does occur, despite our efforts, we too feel the grief of lives lost and the outrage at the unfairness of it all. To the families and friends of David, James and Joe, we know that we cannot take away the sorrow of your loss, but perhaps take some small comfort in that your loved ones were not alone. They were cared for and comforted by my officers and others who came to help them in their final moments. To the people of Reading, it somehow feels wrong to talk of pride and such things when so much hurt has been caused. But you should feel a sense of pride in how this town has responded. Pride in those that were in the park and rushed to help. Pride in the words and actions of support for each other since. And pride in the coming together of a diverse community joined by the bonds of humanity and a shared sense of injustice. Such bonds will be important in the months and years ahead. For policing to be truly effective, a wise man once said that the police are the public and the public are the police. Many of my officers who responded to the events last week are from Reading or live close by. They are your sons and daughters and your brothers and sisters and are part of this community. They are your police. So I hope you're also proud of the efforts of the men and women of all the emergency services who responded to the calls for help from the park on that evening. I know that I am. We will do all that we can to seek justice for those who lost their lives and those that were harmed. And as everyone takes time to heal, we will stand alongside you. The true test of Thames Valley Police is that when things are at their worst for the community, we need to be at our very best for you, and we will. And we will never forget David, James and Joe.
Good evening. I was asked to choose a reading this evening And I wanted to find something which would speak not only to the families of James and Joe and David, but also to all of those who are listening on the radio or joining us online at this vigil. So I'm going to read a prayer poem by the Irish poet John O'Donoghue, and it's in the form of a blessing. Though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn, brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark a further adventure of colour. The sound of your voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you enfolded in your gaze, quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder at things. Though your days here were brief, your spirit was alive, awake, complete. We look towards each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside the rhythm of our breath, as close to us as we are to ourselves. Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything, to which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows, and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, darkest winter has turned to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. To enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love, until we see your beautiful face again, in that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from your mind, and where we will never lose you again. God of all care and compassion, hear our prayer for each broken family and every broken heart. Hold them through the pain of grief, surround them with the gentle care they need, and give them strength for the future that is yet to be. God of our health and strength, hear our prayer for those who were injured and hurt and traumatized. Give patience and skill to those who look after them, and heal the wounds of body, mind, and spirit. God of life and love, we pray with gratitude for the bravery and endurance of the emergency services. Keep in safety those who risk their own lives to rescue others in danger. James, Joe, and David, God bless you and keep you in his loving care, now and for all eternity. Amen.
I'm Jason Brock, the leader of Reading Borough Council, and those of us who know Reading will know that one of our distinguishing features is our sense of civic pride and our sense of community. Reading is a big, bustling, successful town, but what really sets it apart is that we are this, while also maintaining that sense of togetherness that is more typical of a small village, a little big town, if you will. A town like no other, and I'm sure that none of you would have it any other way. And over the past week, that spirit and pride has shone through like never before. The response has been dignified and it has been magnificent. Reading has never been more together. And I will be inviting just a few members of our Reading community to step forward and light a candle in memory of David, James, and Joe. And I also know that people across Reading and beyond will be lighting candles dedicated to their memory. To those who have lost their lives, we must say, you will never be forgotten. But first, I invite the families of the victims to each light one of the lanterns before us. I now invite the Mayor of Reading, Councillor David Stevens, and the Deputy Mayor of Reading, Councillor Rachel Eden, to come and light the candles before us. The Lord Lieutenant of Berkshire, James Puxley. The Home Secretary, the Right Honourable Preeti Patel, and the Chief Constable of Thames Valley Police, John Campbell. the Bishop of Reading and patron of Reading Refugee Support Group, the Right Reverend Olivia Graham, together with the High Sheriff of Berkshire, Mary Reel. The co-head teachers of the Holt School, Anne Kennedy and Katie Pierce. The Member of Parliament for Reading East, Matt Rodder, together with the Member of Parliament for Reading West, the Right Honourable Alok Sharma. The Officer Commanding Rear Operations Group, 7th Battalion, the Rifles, Major Joe English, together with the Chief Executive of Reading Borough Council, Peter Sloman. The Reading Methodist Minister, the Reverend Andrew Moffat, together with the Archdeacon of Berkshire, the Venerable Stephen Pullen. The Chief Executive of Reading Pride, Martin Cooper, the Chief Executive of Support You, Lorna McArdle, and the General Manager of the Alliance for Cohesion and Racial Equality, Victor Karoma. The Chief Executive of Thames Valley Air Ambulance, Amanda McLean. the Chief Fire Officer, Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service, Trevor Ferguson, together with the Head of Operations, Berkshire West South Central Ambulance Service, Kirsten Willis. From the Muslim Council of Reading and Independent Advisory Group, Mustafa Chowdhury. From the Afro-Caribbean Community and the Independent Advisory Group, Josh Wilson. And the Chair of the Independent Advisory Group, Suleiman Munir. And lastly, I invite Councillor Jeanette Skeets, the Leader of the Opposition on Reading Borough Council, to light the final candles with me.
So thank you very much to everybody who's attended here in person this evening, and thank you to everybody else who's unable to attend here but has been watching either in Broad Street or at home. If anybody else present would like to come forward and light a candle, please do so. You're very welcome. So thank you very much, everybody. That now concludes our service this evening. Thank you for attending, and good night.